culminating in the decision there in South Carolina after 50 years of debate in the South Carolina State House to bring it down. On the grounds right now, the crowd has developed on this sweltering day, and they are chanting, "Bring it down."
Good, they about to take that damn flag down.
It has been such an emotional debate in South Carolina and the country. Right now, the family members of the 9 victims are being brought out. They'll be joined by thousands by the governor, Nikki Haley, former South Carolina governors David Beasley and James Hodges, and the pastor Norvell Goff of the Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston. Steve Osensami is on the scene there. Steve.
George, there are thousands upon thousands of people here. It is swelteringly hot. I can tell you that the plan here is to make this ceremony very brief, quick, a respectful ceremony, we're being told. People are cheering now as more state officials step out. The family members that you just made reference to are about a couple hundred feet in front of me on the steps here. They set them apart from the ceremony, and they're all sort of standing there in that area right by the color guard. I can tell you that a lot of people here have high emotions about this. Many people who wanted to see this bit of history. There are people in the rafters in this building directly behind me watching. I don't know if you can see them up there. There is, of course, one little factual point that must be said in all of this that many of the flag's detractors underline, and that is that this flag was put here in 1961 as the government's response to court-ordered desegregation. George.
It went up and never said when it was going to come down. Now, 50 years later, it is happening. We were just watching Governor Nikki Haley, right there, Republican governor of South Carolina, one of the leaders in this fight after the shooting to bring down this flag. She actually signed the bill to bring it down with 9 separate pens, one for each of the victims of that shooting in Charleston. President Obama, of course, also weighing in with that remarkable eulogy in Charleston just a couple of weeks ago, where he sang Amazing Grace. And Steve, so many remarks how this debate, even though it had been going on for so long in South Carolina, really did seem to bring so much of the state together.
It did. It was something that we saw that was quite unique here. We saw not only in this state, but people came in from across the country to that AME church to bring flowers, to remember the victims, to pay their respects. There was a feeling here that it was important for Americans of all colors to show that this behavior, that this act of hate, as police have described it, was unacceptable. Of course, the accused gunman, accused in this case in the murders, is seen in what we believe from police is his manifesto online in pictures at Confederate grave sites with a gun in one hand and a Confederate flag in the other. And just so many people wanted to do something to counter that image, the image of hate that so many people have associated with this flag, that police say it led to these murders at a Bible study at a black church.
We even saw in that debate in the Columbia State House on Wednesday and Thursday, descendants of Jefferson Davis, descendants of the Confederacy saying, now is the time, Steve, now is the time for this flag to come down.
Yes, she was quite emotional. It looks like now, George, the color guard is starting to march out. But you're right, it has been a long debate. They debated for hours and hours in the middle of the night.
And here comes the color guard right now from the South Carolina Highway Patrol to cheer us from the crowd. When they reach the flag, they will lower and fold it, and it will be given to the curator of the Confederate Relic Room at Military Museum. The crowd includes not only the governor and former governors, also members of the state legislature, other political leaders in South Carolina. As Steve said, a solemn ceremony, but also a lot of joy in that crowd today.
There is, but also there are a lot of people here who are mourning the loss of this flag. There are a number of people holding Confederate flags in the crowd, some of them even African American. There's a van that is driving around the state grounds with 2 large Confederate flags. It has been driving around this area non-stop. So many people also very upset, very frustrated by what's happening here today.
The honor guard of the South Carolina State Police. And you hear the reaction as that flag comes down. For the last time. We're looking live at the State House grounds in Columbia, South Carolina, where the Confederate flag has just come down. It's being folded now by members of the honor guard of the state police. And Steve, we heard such a reaction as that flag came down, and now are they chanting USA?
You know, the crowd right now is chanting USA. We see people, of course, waving the American flag. I'm looking at the families now, the families of the victims of those 9 people killed at the church. They're wiping tears away from their eyes, taking photos of this event.
Really took that flag
no
down.
doubt deeply moved by this, because it was the deaths of those 9 people at Bible study that led to this after years and years, decades of debate. A day that many people thought would never come, but at the same time, keeping in mind that there are many other people who are very frustrated by this, very upset, who feel that their heritage is being stepped on.
And it was the big part in this also, those families that touched so many people in South Carolina and across the country. The flag now down and folded. The flagpole will come down as well as the flag is moved to the Military Museum in Columbia. As the honor guard marches off, let's take one more look at that moment. And the flag, the Confederate flag, is lowered. The State House grounds in Columbia, South Carolina. That is it for the flag, no doubt. Those emotions will linger in South Carolina, so much of the country, for some time. And as the honor guard marches off, to hand that flag to the curator of the Military Museum, we want to return now to our regular program for so much of the country that is Good Morning America.
This has been a